All right, if you're using Google Sheets and you want to count the number of cells that don't have a certain word anywhere in the cell, and here we're counting the cells where the word sun doesn't exist. Okay, so we'll go over two different ways to do this. The first way is by using the COUNTIF function. So we'll just type it out. And the first thing that COUNTIF wants is the range that it's counting. So we'll say A1 to A5. Then we'll use a comma here. And in some countries, you need to use a semicolon. It's usually a comma, though. In the criteria, you start this out with a quote. And then inside the quote, which is a little bit unusual in a spreadsheet, you'll say less than and greater than. So that's a way of saying is not equal to or doesn't have it. And then we want it anywhere in the cell, meaning anything can be before it, which is shown by an asterisk in this case. So an asterisk is a wild card in Google Sheets, and that just means any characters before any number of characters can exist. And then we want SUN in that order. And it can be capital SUN, it can be lowercase in this first example, and it doesn't matter. So we'll leave it like that. But if you do need a function that's case sensitive, hang on until we do the second example. But we'll close this off by another asterisk. So that's saying after you see the S, the U, and the N, anything else or nothing can be after it as well. We'll close this off with ending quotes, ending parentheses, and hit enter. And this counts partly cloudy, the word sun's nowhere in there, and it counts windy as well. And as we go down into this second example, if you want your own copy of this spreadsheet to follow along, just go to the link in the description at sheetshelp.com, grab a copy, pull it up on the screen as we go through this. And the hope for this channel is between that website, those templates, and these videos, you'll be able to learn everything you need to know about Google Sheets. All right, so if you wanted to do this and not count SUN because that's not capitalized, let's go over to the second example. I'll delete this so we can walk through it. We're going to be using a function called query, which is very powerful, but it's a little bit tricky to learn because it doesn't use the same syntax as all the other spreadsheet functions. It uses a SQL syntax, which is usually used by programmers working with databases. But when you bring it into a spreadsheet, it lets you do all kinds of cool stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to type query, opening parentheses, and the first thing that we do is pretty normal. You'll recognize this. So we just designate the range, say A1 to A5 again in this case. Use a comma, and then we're going to write out our query. And this query always needs to be surrounded by quotes. So I'll just put them in to begin with and go back one. And we will start this out with the select clause. You always need to have that in a query. So we'll just start with it. And then what we want to do is count. So it's the same word here, it's just count. And then column A, where, and we want to say where the word sun doesn't exist, right? But in SQL language, we use not to turn it negative. And we're talking about column A still, contains, so where it doesn't contain. And then the word sun, S-U-N. Now, notice that I'm doing a single quote here. And that's just because you can't bury a double quote inside of another double quote because it will think that you're ending the query. All right, so we'll type S-U-N. And notice that I capitalize the S here, and that's important because the query function takes the capitalization literally. So it's not going to count what's in A2 because that S isn't capitalized. You'll see that in a second here. So that's the end of the query. I'm going to go to the right one on the other side of the quote. And I just put in a -1 to indicate that there is no header on this text. Close this off, enter, and it counted a 3. And it counted a 3 because it doesn't see capital SUN in any of these 3 cells. Just to show how this is working, if I change this to a lowercase SUN, it's going to return a 4, and that would be counting these cells as not having lowercase SUN, right? But this one does. This next video will go through several different examples of using query, and it will also have a live spreadsheet that you can use to follow along. Thanks for watching. It's nice to have you along.